Yo, what's up, my Perim people? It's Jay Johnny back here in Perim's Underworld. How you doing today, you beautiful people? Today, I wanted to talk about location bonding. Location bonding is a really interesting concept that I didn't necessarily come up with it, but I think I'm the first person to give a term to it, right? Like I feel like I have to be. So what is location bonding? Location bonding is effectively the act of bonding to a specific location. So the biggest example I can give is Gothos Tower. Lord Von Blute, in the effect of Gothos Tower, gets an additional ability. Another instance of this is like Magmon with the Lava Pond. And I started thinking about like how weird it is that specific locations give benefits to specific creatures. I get like game wise why, but lore wise that's really unusual because we do see Von Blute go invisible in Gothos Tower if I recall correctly. And in lore there's really no reason as to why that's a thing. I mean, it just doesn't make sense for that to be a thing in lore. Something that like really interests me is like how do these creatures bond? Like, is there like a specific method, or is it just like they spend so much time there that like the location attunes themselves? Because Perim is a very magical world. There's the Eye of the Storm. There's the Magician's Arch. We see multiple locations, with musical, mutative properties. It's like magical properties, but like for music, right? We see a lot of locations with like those kind of properties. My personally thought process is like a muge attunes itself to a specific creature, and that muge resides in the residence, or maybe Perim just is a naturally magical world, so to say. And in the like it's kind of like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like you can attune yourself to the planet and like feel everything around you. Similar to that, but with like the location attunes itself to the people who reside there. Something that like I kind of been thinking about like lately is the blight, because like I don't understand how the blight could happen, right? Like it's just like the blight seems like it's a out of nowhere kind of thing. It's like the location was rejecting the creatures and the and everything that live there. Is kind of how I read into it, right? Like the location actively rejecting the residents of Prexor Chasm was how I personally saw it. And I'm kind of like, sorry for that audio cut there, but I'm kind of in that mindset of it's like the blight was actively rejecting the creatures of Prexor Chasm, because it's like they don't belong there, or they shouldn't be there, or something similar. And it's similar to how I believe like creatures attuned to specific locations. Something that's really weird is like how minimal, like how small amount of creatures have that attunement to their locations. In Kiru City, Maxor doesn't gain a specific bonus, and the Underworld Coliseum, Hammerdoom, or Chaor, or Lista doesn't have a specific bonus in that location. Momark Castle, I don't believe Momark gets a bonus in Momark Castle, but then again, I hardly ever see Momark Castle, so like I could be wrong. And it's just really weird that like specific creatures don't gain specific benefits in those specific locations, versus Lord Von Blute having that dedicated location, Magmon having a dedicated location. It just feels like more creatures should be more in tune to specific locations, kind of thing. Now I personally I don't mind it, because like that'd be a lot to keep track of, like a bunch of different locations attuned to specific creatures, but the magical, musical, whatever you want to call them, of Perim, I believe, does attune itself to the creatures. And I think that's the best explanation for these transitive properties. I don't know what to call it, man. Okay, it's I'm calling I'm calling it I am personally calling it location bonding, because it just seems like you're bonding to the location kind of thing, and it's giving you a benefit. I'm personally calling it location bonding, just for ease of access. I mean, so but I do wonder, like, what, like, if we were to continue, right? Could we see, like, Bluegon, having a Glacier's Plains card that gives him a digital bonus? So could we see a Lista in the Underworld Coliseum bonus? Like, because we know that she is, like, like the one of the undefeated people? Could we see a Hammerdoom there? Could we see Danians, in Mount Pillar, like a Mount Pillar, like Elixia or Azel, gaining an additional benefit in Mount Pillar that printed on the Mount Pillar card. It leads to just a bunch of awesome potential, and I feel like it should be touched upon in the show, because I feel like in a lore reason, like, we should get an explanation as to why these creatures get those additional bonuses. Like, why doesn't Nadrin in in the castle in Lake Kenepo, why doesn't Nadrin get a bonus? Why doesn't he get a reduction on music cost, or why doesn't he get additional energy or additional stat points? It just feels like that's something that he should get. Why doesn't Bodil in the Underworld and the Overworld Arsenal get additional stat bonuses, kind of thing? Because he's definitely attuned there. I'm just curious as to how it happens. Do you guys have any ideas how it happens? If so, tell me down in the comment section, because I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually talk about the concept of location bonding, and I feel like there's something there. I feel like that Perim has those musical properties, and I just feel like it's a conversation worth having, because even if there is nothing there in general, I feel like having the conversation and starting the conversation can lead to maybe getting an answer from Ganon, or seeing it represented in the show. And I would like to see that, because this is something that's been bothering me ever since I ever read the Lava Pond for the first time ever. So that being said, guys, this has been Perim's Underworld. This has been the discussion on location bonding. If you guys think there's something to it, let me know that and more down in the comment section down below, because I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And subscribe to the channel, because I like making these kind of videos, and you guys apparently like watching them. So subscribe to the channel so you guys can see more of them, and so much more in the future. And that being said, I have been J Johnny, and I will see you in Chaotic, so let's port to Perim.